of space, which can be essentially empty and still grow to enormous scales containing eventually lots of matter and radiation, all without costing a drop of energy, with enough matter and radiation to account for everything we see today. The important point worth stressing in this brief summary of the inflationary dynamics discussed in Chapter 6 is that something can arise from empty space precisely because the energetics of empty space in the presence of gravity are not what common sense would have guided us to suspect before we discovered the underlying laws of nature. But no one ever said that the universe was guided by what we, in our petty, myopic corners of space and time, might have originally thought was sensible. It certainly seems sensible to imagine that a priori, matter cannot spontaneously arise from empty space, so that something, in this sense, cannot arise from nothing. But when we allow for the dynamics of gravity and quantum mechanics, we find that this common sense notion is no longer true. This is the beauty of science, and it should not be threatening. Science simply forces us to revise what is sensible to accommodate the universe, rather than vice versa. To summarize then, the observation that the universe is flat and that the local Newtonian gravitational energy is essentially zero today is strongly suggestive that our universe arose through a process like that of inflation, a process whereby the energy of empty space, nothing, gets converted into the energy of something, during a time when the universe is driven closer and closer to being essentially exactly flat on all observable scales. While inflation demonstrates how empty space endowed with energy can effectively create everything we see, along with an unbelievably large and flat universe, it would be disingenuous to suggest that empty space endowed with energy, which drives inflation, is really nothing. In this picture, one must assume that space exists and can store energy, and one uses the laws of physics like general relativity to calculate the consequences. So if we stopped here, one might be justified in claiming that modern science is a long way from really addressing how to get something from nothing. This is just the first step, however. As we expand our understanding, we will next see that inflation can represent simply the tip of a cosmic iceberg of nothingness.